quick look. Live. Hi there. Just about to start. Okay, I've got two things going on here. I've got Facebook on, YouTube, which is a wide angle, and a close-up shot is the Instagram. Might be better that I put this up. I'll tell you what, if I need to use it, I will do. Okay, so what I will be doing with the YouTube is making it more of a wide shot, and this is for close-ups. So I've just started. I just had to put Reese to bed, so it was a little bit chaotic. So thanks for coming anyway. Thanks everybody. So I'm gonna put this over here for now. Okay. See how that goes. So thanks for coming. It's 7:30, so I can basically start this one too. Come on. Video. We're going to start. We're good. Just trying to think of a good spot which will show this off. Is that going to be okay? I wonder. Most of the time when I'm doing my veneer work, I try to keep it as flat as possible and protected from the sunlight. So I've got some sheets of MDF here. And I keep it flat as much as possible because I don't want it to warp or to start to shrink or to curl up or whatever. So let's get into this. All right, well, what I want to do today is do a quick introduction. The types of tools people use for making circles. Let's also put this back now, at least I've seen it. So quick intro, the types of tools that people use to actually do circles in marquetry. My tool of choice we're going to talk about. Also the preparation of your veneer and the process that you're going to need to do so that you do accurate circle cutting. And then I will be going into doing the cutting the circles or the rings themselves. After that, I want to be doing like a what's next, what happens after this, any questions and answers at the end. And that will basically take me from the A to B of this. I do want to say that I do Zoom sessions on Wednesday nights, which is all about marquetry, for people who want to ask questions or who want to learn more. It's totally free. It's just an open session. Anybody can join, really. I'm trying to spread that onto Reddit. So that's a session. Okay, quick introduction, as quick as possible. I'm doing this little project here, which is basically just pieces of pie and then circles, just different circles in different proportions, different sizes, different lengths. And then we've got these extra ones here. These are just not full circles. They're like little parts of circles. And of course, to do them, I'm not going to do them by hand. I have to do them by a circle cutter as well. Okay. So the thing that brought me to this was the fact that I wanted to do parquetry, and I wanted to experiment with making circles. When I make circles in marquetry, I call it circletry, especially if circles are a predominantly and a big part of the veneer or the process or the design. I call that circletry. It's not just parquetry anymore with straight lines and straight edges. It's actually focusing purely on circles. Okay, so, and with that set in mind, I've done jigs and stuff like that to actually help me make circles. Okay, so let's get into this as best that I can. When we talk about what people use, let's try and leave that as it is. When we talk about what the tools that people use to make circles, okay, there's a few things that they can use. You can use a scalpel. Okay, you can use a scalpel, and with that, I think that this. And when I say use a scalpel, you're basically creating with, let's say, a template. Sometimes people use like tins, anything that's circular, where they will make a template out of wood, or they will make a perfect circle in the as best as they can. So they'll create a hole, a circle, in the marquetry, make that as perfect as possible, and then use it as they slide under veneer underneath, and then they'll cut that through. But the key is that when you do that, you've got to make sure that you line up the under veneer with the veneer on top, because I can assure you that if it's a little teeny weeny eensy wincy little fleece finger of a thing, you'll see it. And what happens is you either get an overlay of the circle that you've then got to cut back to make it fit in, but if you do that, you've also got a gap. So if you have an overlay where you've got to trim off, on the opposite side of that, there's usually a gap. So you're always sort of playing around when you're cutting, when you're doing this method by cutting a hole, putting the veneer underneath, cutting through that. You always have to be really precise where you've marked them so they go back exactly. If they don't, you're going to get a few gaps. And if you're anything like me, who's a bit of a perfectionist, it can mean a lot, you know. So this method is possible to do. One of the advantages, or one of the things that people do, they will make something like this, which is basically a sort of compass. Now, there is a particular type of device that we do have or use. It's called a gasket cutter. And it's a big metal thing. It's got to be really strong. But the disadvantage is with all these things is that when you're cutting, I'll try and move this up so that the people on Facebook, on YouTube can see that when you're cutting, there's a lot of possibilities of variations on the angle that you're cutting, this way, that way, the spin. Also, what can happen as well is if you put too much pressure on it, in theory, you can slightly move that. That's why the gasket cutters, they have bolts on the side is to stop them. But I can assure you, it doesn't always work like that because of this freedom. So too much freedom to some degree will throw off your device. Okay, but these are okay to mark a circle, then cut them out. That's possible. It's tricky. You'll get gaps, and it won't be 100% perfect. So that's one way people do it. Like I said, they use a gasket. They use templates. Like I said, a circle, they'll draw around it. The problem with using templates is sometimes people use wood, ply, MDF, multiplex, and what it is, it's a soft material. So your template, in theory, as you're cutting around it, as you're cutting around your template, you can cut into the wood. And where you start to cut in, you'll slightly change that perfect sphere. You'll slightly change it. And the more you chop away at this, the more imperfect that it becomes. Okay. So that's the disadvantage of using templates. So what people do, they use templates to give the line, then they cut it out, and then they do like the window method, etc. But templates aren't the best. I've done it myself when I was like 16. I actually used an oval beer mat for some of the ovals on my marquetry, just because it was easy and I didn't have to figure out how to do the ovals and how to do all the geometries, you might say. So that's one method. Cutting the compass is also an idea. There's also this thing here. And let me just undo it slightly, I think. Yeah, okay. Take that off. There you go. So this is the guide. I'll just show you what this is. It's just a little simple circle cutter. Most people use this. They're not too bad. I'll be honest with you. I've tried almost everything. And some of these things that I tried were years ago. And, you know, out of them all, these particular ones are pretty good. Okay. But again, you've got all the, I like the fact you've got your sizes on here, which is good. You can tighten it up. It's got a good thing, a good pinprick inside, which is another thing as well. When you're using this and the other devices with the compass with the spikes in, and also the gasket cutter, you've got to find a way to protect the veneer from your constant sort of digging in with the point. And I can assure you, after you've spun around a few times, this will naturally wear into the veneer, that you'll have a dot or a hole or a pinprick, especially with these things. By the way, this one is a copper one. I use a copper one. I made my own copper one for that. So again, you've got to have a piece of veneer on top of that to protect the veneer underneath. And again, you know, there's a lot that can be said about this that goes on, a lot of movement. And the thing is as well, what they don't realize is that although these blades are pretty strong, you can see the blade there, you see the blade, it's actually protruding quite a lot. And I can move that slightly. And I can tell you now that this knife that's protruding so far out has got no protection whatsoever when this knife hits open grain or hard grain. This has got no defense against that, and therefore, again, you're making uncircular perfect circles because of that sort of flexibility in the blade. Mark my words. So these are the types of tools that are on the market at the moment that people use to create circles. You can use lasers if you've got a laser cutter. You can use CNCs if you've got a CNC machine. And there's also like linographics, which basically will cut out a small space like this. I think that's how big they can get now, like so big. So it's like, you know, maybe 500-600 square. There's basically a machine on an arm that has a special blade in it that will cut veneer. It's got to be special veneer too, but it will do that. Okay, the companies have started to produce veneers, and it will cut veneers relatively well. But I'm not too sure at sort of what accuracy it will do. And again, you're probably going to be down to a limited supply of these veneers, and if not, some veneers will suit this cutting operation better than others, which if you're a craftsman already who know about your woods, you probably know about that already as regards to the grain structure, grain direction, etc. Okay, so I did the intro, the tools people use. Now, my tool of use, this is where it gets interesting. Well, it does for me, because I tried a lot on the market. I tried everything that I could, and I was not happy at all with the results. Okay, I think I already said that. And therefore I took it on myself to actually start to make my own. And that is basically what I have done. Let's turn you on there. Okay. Now, here she is. And that works in combination with this. Okay. I'm going to go through this little device with you. Okay. I'm going to first of all go through. In fact, if I might have to change this down a little bit. You don't need to see my pretty face anymore. I'm going to zoom it in so we can actually see what I'm doing. And hopefully this will be a benefit. Let's have a look. Maybe I need another light source on here. So a quick look. Where's it gone? Aha. There you go. So let's just have a quick look at this camera here. Just try and sort this out. So for you, that's good. Okay. All right. So it comes in two parts, as you might say. 3 parts. There's this one. Now, before I really go through this, I want you to know that this little piece here is not the first time I invented this. It's not the first time. I actually did like 3 or 4 iterations with this. This was the first one. As you can see there, this thing spun around. And it actually was spinning on a ball, like on a bearing, like on a not a ball bearing, but like a bearing system. So it would spin in this, and it would actually cut a circle out, and I could adjust it by undoing this and moving this backwards and forwards. So this was the first one. It was okay, but it wasn't perfect, and I didn't learn at that point what the problem was. Then I went on to another one, which had a similar sort of setup. And this one moved in this way and also along. So, like you say, had a special sort of thing on that. Again, it had a knife at an angle to cut. So I was getting quite into all these particular things. But you see, what I didn't realize was this sounded like a good idea because I could pick it up and drop it down when I wanted to, almost like a needle on a record player, you know, pick it up, go around, do it in gradual steps. I thought, oh, that's fantastic. But you see, that ever so slight movement there is enough for it to go off. And because of that movement, these things that are supposed to stop it from moving backwards and forwards end up getting inertia on them backwards and forwards and getting wider and wider apart. And before you know it, your circle doesn't marry up anymore. So that was like the second one. And then I got my third one here, which again was like a bit more advanced, again still on a wheelie, still on a bearing, on this time linear bearings with bolt things on to make it a lot more sturdier. So the main thing was so that it wouldn't move. So again, it was like this one has wheels on, bearing wheels underneath here, so that I get the really sophisticated, and it got really good. But again, I was It was just off slightly. It was off. And this one here is the last one that I did. And I took what I learned from that. I got myself some bar, and this is the same bar that I have for my cutting board. And I basically put in some metal that allows it to slide up and down. But what I have here is another bearing. And that bearing goes into this wheel, this thing here. So as you can see, it can spin. It can spin all the way around. And it spins around and it doesn't move. It doesn't move 1 millimeter. It doesn't move anything. It moves this way, but nowhere else. So this became my pivot point. My point, as you might say, from my compass. And then, of course, I borrowed what I'd learned with the previous ones about slanting the blade. And then what I figured out was part of the reason why it was coming off tracks and not making perfect circles was because your blade is like a thin piece of metal, the knife. And by the way, with this, I chose the Swan Morton scalpel blades. So with this particular thing, all I need to do is just swap it out and a new blade will go in. Same with the other jig. The same knife is used time and time again. I don't switch knives. I don't have different design of knives. One knife to do the task. I don't have to think about it. I put it in, and it's all set up. It's all set up for this one knife to keep it as easy and as simple as possible. So you've got your scalpel blade there. It's only been bolted in. And then you've got this thing here, which is putting tension. It's putting tension onto the blade. And the reason why it does that is you've got your blade. As you start to cut, I did a video, I think last week or so, called the V-cut. And it's the knife technology that anybody who does marquetry probably knows about, okay? And it's the fact that the knife that goes into the veneer creates a trough or a V. It damages the wood in the actual cutting process that it does. And when you look at a knife, it's like a V. And when you look at grain of wood, sometimes when you look at it under a microscope, it's like little V's in the grain. So what happens is, as the knife goes along cutting through the grain, every now and then the knife will drop in to that grain, that little trough, that little V of the grain. And instead of going the way that you want it to, it will wander off. It will wander off enough that it will try and stay as much as it can in that trough. And of course, you can see how much that's come off from the way that you wanted it. And it's that fraction of a millimeter or so that means that when you get to the other end, the lines don't meet up because it's come off track. It's come off track. It's not meeting up. When that happens, it's game over. You've got to start again. Sometimes you can get away with it. It depends. But that is what was happening with the blade. Excuse me. It's getting over a cold. So what I did, I compensated by putting a special spring on the back and putting tension onto the blade so the blade can no longer move. It can't move anywhere. Now on this particular one, I've got some rubber, and that rubber gets pushed into position because on the back here I've got like two grub screws. Let's have a look. If I can put it on the picture there for you guys. I've got two little grub screws here. Yeah, see them? Two grub screws. And that's been tapped into the aluminium. And so when I tighten it, the screws come out, protract out, whatever you want to say, and they cause pressure. And that basically makes this stay fast in the actual trough. So this can move backwards and forwards to where you want it. And you would measure you would measure from the middle of where the pin is to where the edge of the blade is here. And with that, you can then figure out how big you want your circle. So you can use it quite accurately. So this is the tool. And by the way, just so you know, let's have a quick look down again. Look, I've got some other bearings on, and that's to allow me to sort of rotate it very carefully. So I control it as I'm actually doing my circles. That's what I'm trying to do, trying to control it. Okay. So that's the tool. And of course, I made a bigger one. This one here will go from 16 millimeters to about 24 centimeters. And this one will go from 60 millimeters or 6 centimeters to 40 centimeter diameter. So that's quite a big circle, that is. So this is big brother, and this is the small one. This is probably the one I'll be using tonight, okay? All being well. If I don't blunten it, that's quite a high thing. So that one goes in there like that. Okay. Let's just move this away now. I'm trying to find a good spot where I can put this. You know what I might do? I'm going to actually put it on top, and then you can actually see the wide table. Okay, so that probably makes more sense. And you can look at this for a second or two while I set this up. I think that's better, personally. I'm still here. So please ask questions at the end. I'm not quite finished yet. I just in the process of getting this sorted again. Now, let's have a look at this. Hope I'm not making you dizzy. I think we're going to do that like that. So it is no, okay. Spin him again. That's probably better. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Tighten you up. So we'll look at what we've got. Over here. Over here. Let's take this off. Spin you over. And so. Is it okay, you think? I'm just trying to figure out what the best place is for this, for the camera, for you guys, really. Maybe it's a bit better, a little bit more. Try that. That's better. Okay, that's cool. Okay. Fantastic. So this is the back of the, well, no, sorry, I'll take it back. This is the front that you will see. Okay. And last week I replaced all the tabs by little, let's have a quick look at that. So last week I replaced all the tabs and I cut these special sort of diamond, triangular shaped pieces of tape, and I replaced it all. And what I like about this, it's very even, it's very balanced, and that is basically what you need. Okay, you need a nice balance. You don't want it to be bumpy. You got 2 or 3 tabs here and 2 or 3 there. It's going to be like this, and you want it to be balanced and easy to sort of use. It's another thing. You got to keep your table very clean. The other reason is, and that is, if I start to cut circles out of this, as you can see here, there's some small sections. So for instance, if I've got a tab there and I've got a space and I've got a tab there and I've got a space, it's likely that some of these pieces don't have tabs on or bits of tape. And that means that they're going to fall off, they're going to fall away. So I don't want that. But if I have these lines on all the way through, it's going to be very hard for that to happen. Okay. So this is the front. Now, let me just say, I'm not going to cut from the front because of the V cut. I'm going to be cutting from the back. Okay. So, although this has been nice and pretty to see, this is the front. I'm going to turn it over. And I've already sort of centralized roughly where the middle is going to be. Okay. And I put some tape down. The reason why I've got tape down is because I'm using double-sided sticky tape. And it has a tendency to pull the grain out. It's very strong and very sticky. So masking tape first protects this getting too strong for the veneer underneath, especially if you've got little points of veneer there, it's going to pull them off. Whereas the masking tape isn't strong enough. So that's okay. Now then, excuse me. This is where our little pivot point's gonna go. You see it? This is our little pivot point. This is our pin, and that's got to go in the middle as much as possible. Put lines on so I can line it up. Okay. So let's do that. I'm going to pull off the double-sided tape, hopefully. There you go, and I can see now where that middle is. And I'm just going to put it in there on top. And that means that this isn't going to come off now. It's not going to come off. But because I know what this stuff's like, I'm going to just add a little bit of glue to it. Some hot glue. Of course, I'm going to run out. Let's have a look. I'm still here. There you go. Now, that should stop this from moving or coming off. That's very ouch. That's very important. I'll let that dry off a little bit. And I've got to be careful that there's nothing going to stop or get in the way. It's possible that I might have to trim some of this off. Gee. think I might have used a bit too much. We'll soon figure it out. My bad. It's not good enough. That's okay. In it goes. Okay. So it's now dropped on to the pin. And now really I can now move move this around like so. But I think I'm going to pull these off because these are making it hard. I don't have a lot of clearance, unfortunately, on that. There you go. That's okay. All right. Any bits of stuff like this, rubbish, you really need to get rid of on your table because it can foul it. It can mess things up. Okay. Now, when you weren't looking, I actually marked on where the rings are. Okay, these rings here, I marked them on. I got my first one here, but I'm not going to do the first. I'm going to do the outside. Don't do the inside because you'll make that loose. It means you've got to really tape that down. And that means that you're always trying to move this centerpiece. But if you do the outside, this always stays stable. And it's a lot easier to cut something that's already stable. But if you're cutting it in reverse, it's a lot harder. So that's a good tip that is for you, is that always start on the outside of the rings, okay? So hopefully, let's have a look. Move him up. Okay, so that's for the big one. Let's pull him off. Oh. I think that's okay. All right, okay. So that's in and down. And just going to tighten this up. Pull them off, pull them off. And just tighten this up. Keep it as flat as possible. Now these grub screws have got like special screw heads on. So I'm having to use a very fine screwdriver for this. But that's okay. So he's not moving anywhere. Drop him down. Okay. We can start. What I'm concerned about now is that this might move a little too much. So what I'm going to do temporarily, I'm going to move him out of the way. Take that up. I don't want these boards really moving too much underneath. And I don't want too much of a gap. Bring you back. And I'm going to tape around this outside edge here. Now that should do fine. 1, 2. So if you want, I'm happy to show you the design of this particular piece. I'm happy to show you that. I'll send you some pictures. And what you want to do really, you want to look at what I've achieved or what I've done, and then try and have a look at what's on the market and sort of like compromise, make your own version. by using what you've got in your own country, okay? Because I don't know what you might have. I mean, I bought these tools and equipment and this aluminium bar here in Holland, so it might not be available that easy in your country. I don't know, okay? Now then, this is now stable. What you don't want to have is things moving around on you when you're moving this. You don't want stuff moving around, okay? You want to keep it as stable as possible. See if I can get that better. You guys, it's about the same, isn't it? Okay. And here we go. What I'll do, I'll make a mental note of this before I started. It doesn't look like it's cutting much, to be honest with you, on this first session. It's very possible that the blade is, oh, it is cutting there. I see it cutting through. I'm just going to slowly guide it. I don't really want to be cutting this on the first pass. That's the only way to describe it. I don't want to be cutting this on the first pass. And I'm always dragging it towards me. Always dragging it towards myself. And I'm trying to, this is going across the grain, so you've got to be careful with it because it sometimes chips out the veneer, especially in open grain stuff like this. Like see it clicking through. So now I'm just going to be really, really careful. Yeah, nice and steady. Ah, I just lost it. Just came undone then. Do you see it? Oh, good heavens. It just came undone. And that means it's going to throw it all off. Did it come undone? Yeah, it does. It's come undone. Okay. Well, I did try to stick this down and it's unfortunately moved. That isn't good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to centralize this. This I will cut out later. This one here. Okay. Purely because this has moved and this wasn't stable enough. And I think what I should have done, it happens, you know, shit happens. What I should have done is actually draw a line around where the middle is and was. But the tape has obviously come off. So I'm going to do that now. Well, that's disappointing, really, but it does happen. And this is one of those problems that happen sometimes. So this is another thing that I've got to really solve now, is to try and get this more secure. And I think that the option that I'm going to go for right now, I'm going to go for some super glue. Okay. That's a shame. So, okay, so all right. So super glue it is. Again, as I've got it pretty close, it isn't that bad. If I had to do a ring now, this would be finished. Okay. But this one line I've got here, I can see, and I can cut through that with my knife. Okay. So I'm gonna now. I think I'm gonna go to the other one, the smaller one. Here you go. Drop him in. So that one's done. This one's next. That's about it. Tying them up. I think that's in pretty tight. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Okay, if it would have been further down the line, then I would have been in trouble, and it would have been Plan B. But it's okay because I have a pretty decent score line here in this. I can see the score line in that, so that to me is okay. And now we're going to try again. Come on. Nice and steady. Just cutting. I don't want to rush the first cut. I'm moving my hands around. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on it. I can feel certain woods are responding differently to others. But I'm trying to use this outside wheel here to help guide me, to help sort of make the cut. Now, once you've got a line in, the blade should, in all sense and purpose, follow that cut. It should follow it. Got to be careful that I don't sway it off in any way. Now I think that's practically gone through. A lot of places it's actually cut through. A few places it hasn't. And I've got to play detective a little bit. And try and figure out which ones have cut through and which ones haven't. Ah, we've done it. We've done it. We've done it. We've done it. Pretty sure I can see the stepping now. You see it's like stepping a little bit. So I'm just now gonna just checking how sharp my blade is. Run around that very carefully, using my little finger as a guide. As far as I know, there's just a little strain here. How is that possible? There you go. Okay, we got it. We've got it. Now, as you can see from the picture, there's generally a dark line there. That's your V cut. But I can assure you on the other side, it'll be a lot smoother. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move it over one like that. And it should still fit back in perfectly. I'm going to move it over. Does that look okay like that? Yeah, we're going to use the red as the predominant, primer. Never mind. Now that that's done, again, we're working inside. So the next plan now is to tape this down. The only thing you've got to be careful now of is, come on, tape, is that sometimes it will what it will do is it will start to tear this up and move it, and you want to keep it stable as possible. And what I'm trying to do, I'm putting some chamfer, some pointy parts on this, because points tend to resist the abrasion factor, as you might say, of the metal that's going to come into contact with this. We're going to try that. Like so. It doesn't matter too much because we know this circle fits now. This circle fits in. So my future advice is use the super glue. And we're going to pop this one in again. Undo this. Like so. Undo it. Come on. Drop him in again. Now, I can also use this if I want to by laying this on top and roughing it out a bit, you know, as you might say. I'm not going to do that. Move this one over. I think that's good. Tighten him up. Okay, that's it. That's one done. What we're going to watch out for is when we hit this tape, sometimes if I'm pressing down too hard, it can sometimes curl up the tape. But the idea is that we take this nice and gentle now. And we do the same thing again. Just nice and steady. Nice, easy cut first. Nice and gentle. Nice and gentle. There you go. Nice and soft. Yeah, nice and soft. Nice and easy. There you go. And let it work its way down like before, bit at a time. There you go. Now these are quite tricky ones, these here. These open grain ones. It might take a few times, but the main thing is it's not coming out of its groove. And that's important for the accuracy. I think it's gone. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, it's not bad. So I'm just basically inspecting where I think it's gone. So it's gone here and not so much around here. And I'm just gonna just let the knife drop into the groove. I'm not gonna cause any stress on that at all. Just let it follow through. No hassle. And I think that this blade is blunt. Let's get rid of that. Let's get a new one. Always have some spare ones with you. Nice and steady. Come on. Oh, yeah, see. So another one has just gone. And if we spin it around, it should fit back in there anywhere possible because it's a perfect circle, as good as it's going to get. So we're going to do that. Okay. Same again. Using these little shaped tabs, what it does, it helps the as this moves around, the friction means that it doesn't start to tear up the tape. If it curls up, it'll curl up underneath your device, and then you get bumps. And you don't want that. You want to keep it as stable and as flat as possible. Get some more tape. So like I say, I'm on YouTube with this live, and also on Instagram with this live. Please give us a thumbs up if you can. Now, this one's a bit tricky because it's a very fine ring I've got now. So, but we'll be fine. We will be fine. So I'm sticking it down to try and stop it from moving. And also, the less movement I get with this, the better. The more accurate it's going to be. And that's very important. Okay, let's have a look what else we've got to go for. Okay, that's pretty stable. Here. So let's make sure they're all stuck down. See that there? It starts to curl up. It'll get underneath this thing and it makes it awkward, especially if you're in the middle of doing something. So the next ring, put that down, undo it. So daisy. Lay him down. You happy with that, Marcus? Okay. You little bugger. Ah, it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart on me today, innit? So you get you in. You back in there. I mean, in theory, this is only an actual working prototype, you know, that I'm using at the moment. And if it works well, then I'll probably end up making it a lot better. And that's the idea. So let's get this back here. Get you in. Seem to be okay. Tighten you up. When your fingers get stuck, I love it. Okay, it's back on. Okay, the next one. Is it cutting? Yes. Yes, it's cutting. Very, very careful. Yes, cutting. Nice and steady. Prefer to be careful with this than rush it. I tend to, if I rush things, I tend to make a mistake with them. Don't want to do that. Not with this anyway. I just hope that this is informative for you to see how I'm cutting my circles. I usually take my time a little bit more than this, but you get in the idea. And it is, to me, just an experiment to do this thing. I am sort of experimenting. So every time I do this, I get a little bit stronger, wiser, cleverer with the entire process. And we'll just have to see what it's like. But if I inspire you to create your own device using the theory or even the idea that I've got here, then that is great. Again, this has been made with aluminium, pieces of aluminium and super glue, bolts, bars, epoxy resins, or basically you see what happened? You see it folds it back, and that's what you don't want. Okay, I'm gonna think that it's done. Okay, slice that off. Try this now. Well, this is what I mean about small things sort of splitting like that. That basically is what can happen. Get the knife in there. I'm basically just feeling, and the reason why it's possibly not cut as well the fourth time or the third time is because the blade is going to get blunt. So it's probably time that I change the blade. But you get the idea. Come on. I think I'm going to need to change the blade on the tool because, oh, you see it? Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. Come on. And it's typically a hard piece of veneer that's being awkward. Okay, so you can go back into place. Let's just cut you underneath first. you go. I'm going to support this now. It's starting to buckle a little bit here and there. As long as I keep my cool, I should be okay. And then again, of course, so we were there, now we move it there and should just drop in. Okay. Yep. So now we know it's still a perfect circle, which is good. Oh. So what? Can always use a back of your knife. So I'm taping this down now. Okay, next one. What I'm going to do though, I'm going to show you how I change the blade. For you guys, probably better like that. Yeah, okay. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm loosening my support bar, and I'm loosening, taking this off and putting a brand new blade in. So with this one here, I'm loosening this pressure bar, which will move away. Then I'm going to take this off and put a brand new blade in. It should slide back on exactly where it was, almost. So undo that. So that's all the tension now off that blade. And let's just get this like so. I don't want to drop the screw away and not be able to find it again. Okay, there's the knife, the old knife. I'll be able to sharpen that up and use that for something else. So never throw your blade away. You can always sharpen them and refine them. I think there's videos on Reddit, on the YouTube channel, and I think also on Facebook as regards to that process. So the blade goes in again. Let's just lay you there like that. Push you through. Tighten him up. Now I'm going to adjust how much the knife is sticking out. That looks okay. Tighten him up. He's good. is in there. Then we place the support bar, and that needs to be tightened up too. And there we have it. And the blade protrudes out slightly. So that was a quick change. I might have got away with it, but I was struggling with these little things. It wasn't cutting through. Maybe I should have gone on a little bit longer. Who knows? But I was like, look, let's not take any chances here. Let's just try and get this thing sorted out. And then what we've got now, we've got the last of the runs or the rings. Just trying to find the best spot for it. Turn him up. I'm going to just pull him off actually, because I prefer to tighten it up outside the device for some reason. I just feel better. Tighten him up. Boost them. Tighten up. Now the rubber's there, so that should sort of take any intense tension on that. So let's have a look. This you in. It's a little bit out, but it's not the big deal. It's more about the particular process that we're after. Okay, so let's see how we get on. And one thing I do want to say is that the blade is always being dragged along. I'm actually dragging the blade along so that it sort of like does that, as you might say, at an angle, goes in, so it slides along, which means that the steeper the angle, which is the other one is steeper, the less resistance you're going to get of that blade coming out of its hole, coming out of its position of flipping into a groove of the veneer. So the more slanted back, the more slicing action that you're getting. And that's what I want, really. I want a nice slice in action. And I want to just take it steady. You know, I really just want to take this nice and steady. Now, there is another device on the market called Despay or Despay or Despay, and that's a circle cutter, and it does from 1 millimeter to 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters, but it will only cut to about 4 mil depth, at 0.4 mil, so it's not even halfway through what we really need, so it's not as deep. But it could set you up for the perfect circle, and you have to do the rest by hand. Yep. Nice and steady. I'm not trying really to beat it in one hit. I'm trying to slowly go through it. You know, practice makes perfect. Practice makes this better. I'm going to get better with this the more I use it and learn more and more as regards to how to get this system better. I do have a little thing going on here. Always be aware. What I've got going on here is I've got a little piece of veneer that wants to come out. So I'm going to just put a bit of tape on that for now, just to keep it in place. I don't want bits falling out. See, it's already lifting there, so I know it's the other side now that needs the effort. Yeah, you see. Okay, I'm going to take that off now. I'm going to take any more chances with it. Come on. See, the piece has already come off here. It needs to go back in. And then you go. It's just a rough, very tough. It's tough veneer that. Now I'm going to use my headset with this because I'm going to struggle with this if I'm not careful. Well, what an awkward piece of wood. Now I'm going to put a stronger piece on now because that will come off. The only thing I've got to be careful of though is that when I'm pressing this, I've got to make sure that these bits of tape go back, that they come off. Otherwise, I'll have a problem when I'm pressing it. Nice and steady. I'm just going around a little bit. My head was probably in the way then. I did have some lovely glasses that I used, and I put them down somewhere and I can't find them to save my life. I'm just testing, figuring out where it's gone. You again, eh? Tough veneer, this. Got to be careful I don't damage it now. That's what I mean. Okay, put you back under. That's okay. And then again, we can then spin this like so. Drop him in. There you go. I'll take this down. Okay. And then I can bring this to a conclusion. because I've done the essential parts that I need for this. And I'm going to flip it over. We can have a look at it and see what it looks like on the other side. Now the design isn't completed yet, so I'll leave this on because I've got to do these outer ones. But what I might do is the outer ones while I'm at it here. I think that might be a better option. Okay, so let's have a peek what it looks like on the other side. And then we'll stick it down again. You can see why it's important to stick it down. Very important to stick it down. Otherwise, it's just going to be, everything's just going to be moving and you're going to be in a right stress. Okay, so let's just put a little more tape on this thing. Maybe there. And let's try and be very, very careful now. Yeah, there you go. So that looks like it's coming on pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. That's going to be a good little piece. And the line's a lot more tidy on this side. So I'm really happy with that. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, this thing here, I'm going to cut through by hand. I've got a score line. Shit happens. Bad luck happens. That's the way it goes. And, you know, it moved. And that's just unlucky. But that's just the way it is. So that will be cut by hand. It's got a good score line, though, so I'm not worried about it. So I think it's going to be okay. It is circular. It only happened late in the process, so I should be okay. But now I'm going to use this device now to cut these lines out here. So let's drop this one in. Let's undo him. Oh yeah, I better just tape it down while I still can. I hope you guys and girls are still there. It's been going on for a while, this session. It's like 9 o'clock in Holland. Some tip. Okay, so that's in position. This gets undone. I'm going to move it over. That's the one. Tighten him up. And what I've got is I've got a little start and stop here. And let's have a look. Yeah, we got it. Okay, that's okay. Now undo this again. Oops, using the technical pencil, that's never really good. Undo this again. Okay. Now you've got to bear in mind that this is the front, and therefore these two pieces here, as you might say, are actually in another place when they're upside down, because I'm actually working from the back here. So what this small one is on would be over here looking at me. When it's turned over, it's actually on this side. So I'm working on this small piece here. Okay, and I'm just basically set. I did one inside and I did one outside. If it was a full ring, I would be definitely concerned and doing the outside first and then the inside. But because it's almost like a hole, like a piece of marquetry in itself, it's a gap or a space, it should be fine. And I put pencil marks on them, pencil lines on, so I could see where I was going to. So let's just take my helmet off again. And you can see that there. Start and stop. Cool. Start and stop. Start and stop. Start and stop. Just a little line. I put a line on the jig, a line on the pit on the veneer. Dropped it in every time. A start line and a stop line, and that gave me that point. Okay. Got to be careful now, really, because any imperfection here will ripple its way through here, and that's okay. That's okay. And then we're going to do the next one. Undo this now, because this one's in a different location. And there's a little hole where the knife goes through, and that gives me just enough that I can see where I'm going to. Again, it's not rocket science, so put my helmet on. Where are you? He's okay, like that. Turn him up. Tighten. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. So this thing starts like here. So I'm going to put a pencil line on where the pencil is there. and it rotates to here. Okay, so again, try and move this over a little bit for you. Put this in another place now. Turn that off. And drop him in. Hold on here. Nice little thing. Start. Stop. Start. Stop. Pressure down. Start. Stop. Start. Stop. Okay, that line's enough for me. So this line here, I've got inner line and the outer line. I'll just now do the edges, as you might say. Okay, and then what I'll do, I'll use the window method on these and cut a piece of veneer that will go in there by cutting through. I could have had another piece of veneer that I wanted with the other setup on, which would have meant that I would have had the other wheel on that piece of veneer, and I would have just dropped it into that other veneer and then made the exact cut but on another piece of veneer by using the secondary one of these pins, which if I can find, there you go. So that's why I have two pins, because I can have another piece of veneer working in coincidence with this, which is set up so I can do the same cut and then mix them over if I wanted to. I'm not doing it with these, by the way. I'm just going to do these. I'm just going to make windows out of them and then replace that veneer by cutting through later with a scalpel. But that's why I have two pins. Again, you've got to be careful now with this sort of moving a little bit. It's getting a bit flexy, you know. If I had to do anything more complicated, I probably would secure the other side, take all the tape off this, secure the other side, make it more stable, and then I would probably carry on. But because these are quite simple, these little things, it's not too bad. So again, I'm going to loosen this. Okay, he likes to do that for some reason, but still. And I'm going to lay it on over here. I should be able to see through that little gap. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there you are. That'll do fine. Okay. Okay, after I've done this cut, it's getting late here for me. It's like getting something past 9. I'll then start to do the question and answers, okay? So if you missed the beginning, I did say about I will be doing Q&As at the end, okay? So Okay, so let's keep going. In, move it around. Nice and steady. Don't be rushing it too much. Uh, Gonna have to move in a little bit here, I think, because it's sliding through this stuff, and then I really want to get a nice stop on this. Stop. That's good. In. Stop. Third cut should be okay. There you go. So they're through. So these two pieces here, these two little circle slices are these here on the drawing. So it's still based on a circle, and I've got one up here in the corner to do up there. Okay, but what I'm going to do, the only thing I need to do now with this is to cut the lines in. I mean, it should come out this. Yeah. Because I'm working from the back, any damage that the blade is doing or the mark from the V-cut itself is going to be wasted. It's not going to be seen from the front. Okay. Oh, come on. Okay, so that's one. Sorry, old chap. So that should just come out now, that. Okay. So what I'll do now, I can stop this now, and I can start to do some question and answers on this particular project. Put that up there. Okay. So we're on Instagram as well, live, and also on YouTube, which is you guys. So I'm going to quickly move this over now. Okay. Well, we haven't got that many questions on Instagram. I've had some comments, but no questions. So what I've got here is Bass Robin, good old bricks. Missed the beginning of the, is the tool a custom one? Yes, it is a custom tool. In the future, you'll probably watch this video on the live sessions and it will probably explain to you in that early, as I was going through this, different tools that we use, but it is a custom made tool that I've found to work for me. I'm happy to show you the drawings on how I made this. I'll be honest with you, it's a prototype. Like most of them here, it's been made with aluminium bar, primer, so that the epoxy resin will stick to the glue will stick. If I was to drop this, it would probably fall in parts. It's also got bolts. There's some threading involved. There's some bearings, but it's been basically made to solve the problems that have occurred when I've been cutting circles. Let's have a look at the next one. Joe says, this is great help. Is the pivot pin of your jig? Yes, it is running on a bearing, yes. So in here is a very small bearing. It's a 3mm bearing. So that is a bearing there. That is true. And that's the best way that I've been able to sort of do it. It doesn't move. So this pin goes right into that and allows it to swivel without any sort of swaying, as you might say. Like I said, I did have a problem earlier on with this. I had a double-sided tape and it wasn't strong enough. And after I did my initial big circle, it basically came off. But not to worry about it. The line is there. And I will do that big ring by hand. Bass Robin, let's have a look. Would be interested indeed to see some more details on the tool indeed in another video. That's great, of course. You know, this is the I will do some more. This is a small one. So you've got the knife here. Let's take this out. I'll do some pictures up on I'm on Facebook, Marcus Marquetry, and I'm on Reddit, Marquetry Advice. I can post some there on Facebook. I mean, alternatively, if you just reach out to me with your email, I'll email you the pictures and the descriptions. In fact, I'll probably make a PDF for you showing close-ups, okay? Because it is important, guys. I've got the angle on the blade quite steep, quite a steep angle, so it's slicing. But the key thing is that your blade has got to be supported by a spring. It's got to put pressure onto the actual knife, because if it doesn't, the knife moves. Although you might think, it's a scalpel blade, it's really strong, but you hit some tough grain sometimes, and it's enough to bend the metal. Although to me and you, we don't see it when we're doing it, it's enough to bend off, okay? And what I found with my previous examples that I made, again, if you look at the preview again at the beginning, I went through like an introduction, the types of tools that people use other than the one that I've got, and the processes that they do and the methods you can use. I talked about the tool that I've invented, that I've created to solve this problem. I talked about the preparation. I did the cutting of the circuitry, and now we're in the Q&A part of this session. So, and I appreciate that you're writing live, as you might say. So from Holland, in the Netherlands, thank you for calling in on us. But let's have a look. So yeah, some good tips. So I'm going to see if I can type something back. Let's see my face a bit up close now, I guess. I've got an unusual setup here. I've got a camera here, and I've got like my iPhone for the close-ups on Instagram. So if you see the Instagram, you're probably going to see some close-ups, a lot better than I've got on this, which is a shame, but we're working on it. Oh yeah, there's my knife. Get in touch and send us an email. I'll send pictures and PDFs. There you go. Yeah, let's have a look. It's at the moment it's all about parquetry and also Facebook. I'm not saying you should go to Facebook. It's the same. Typing while I'm doing this. It's crazy, isn't it? It'd be good to hear what country you guys are from. It's always good news to reach out to people and help, of course. It's the same. Reddit is marketry advice. Oh. Gee, come on. Ah, cool, man. I hope I can do more of these live sessions, doing tricky veneering stuff. I'll tell you where it all came from. I usually do Wednesday nights for the groups that I'm involved with. I do like an open night. So it's like marketry night, midweek marketry. And I just basically create a Zoom room. What I'll do, I'm going to put the Zoom link up on Reddit as well. And I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to do that link on Facebook. But I do an open session. So you can basically, and it's around about this time, and I'm doing like marketing, but it's an open session, so you can be there talking to me. So you say, look, I'm working on this. Have you got any tips, or see what you're doing? Give you some feedback. I'm generally working on a project, and I was doing that for quite a while. But the thing is, sometimes people can make it, and I was like, well, look, I've got an interesting little project here, something I think that people could learn from. Why don't I just go live? Why don't I just do what I'm doing and let people see what I'm actually making? You know. Just, I mean, for free, it doesn't really matter. I'm giving knowledge out. To me, it's what I like to do. So I thought, you know what, sod it. I'll just do a live session. I'm still doing midweek marketing for the Zoom, but that'll be great for people who've got a question for me, or they want to have a chat about something, particular design, or that they're on a project. Maybe they want to know about how best to start that, or if there's any problems to look ahead on, or even like, look, you know, can you talk me through that what you did with the circle cutter, you know? And it's a one way. It's a two-way sort of thing. Lives are great, but it's awkward, I think, if I want to we want to talk about this, you know, because this is all live. So I'm just trying to say, I'm going to do the link up on Reddit. I will do the link up on Facebook. I have to figure out how to put that link up onto YouTube, and then you can join. You can come and join on Wednesday nights, and if you want to have a chat. Failing that, there's tons of knowledge I've put up on Reddit. There's tons of knowledge I put up on the Facebook account. Tons of knowledge on the YouTube, and I want to try and put more educational videos up on how to do stuff on the Facebook. But to some degree, I will be honest with you guys, I'm trying to prime up certain people who are really interested in this when I start my tall ship project. That project is going to be extremely intense, and I really want some people to be on the ball a little bit when I'm doing the demos, because I won't be able to stop and like go into it in depth. Because when I focus on my project, I'm like really into it, and it's like, look, this is what I'm working on, and you'll if you're at that level, you'll know where I'm going with it. But it's going to be an intense project. But listen, that's all I want to be doing tonight, really. As you can see here, let me flip it over one more time. And then I can have a nice cup of tea and get to bed. Okay, got to always be careful with your veneer. Always be careful. Let's have a look. There you go. See, got to be careful of that. And this is like the things here. And because I've been cutting from the back, when I do get to cut this in, it'll be a lot more finer. And I've got this one here to do up here. This one's got to go up here. So it's roughly, that's what's going to happen here. I've still got the big circle to do yet. I had a problem happen early on, and it's like, look, it does happen. I dealt with it. That's the way it goes. And then I moved on to continue the rest of the project. As you can see, it's getting a little bit wobbly inside now. So you've got to be really careful of that. So these are windows. That I'm going to cut this out by hand, and this one here. Okay. But I think that's all I've got time for, really. That's all I've got time for. And hopefully we'll see you all, guys and girls, in the next one. And that's the end of our session. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for touching down with me, and hopefully we can do another one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.